like how it feels, darling. Moonlight. Watch how we flip this remix. It's on the world at the door. I'm not forget that I believe in it. I'm a song that I'm get the green light, you already know. Take it, girl, yeah, we ready to get one to the crib. Now let's make a deal. I promise you gon' like how it feels, darling.
Tom, it's your turn to say something else again.
Yeah.
Like sort of like you're happy it's happening, or it's because of you buying the team, or something like that.
Well, you know, this is certainly exciting for Gail and I, and we're certainly very happy about this. We got a great commissioner, and boy, he's really tough to do business with. I tell you, it's very hard, man. Woo. Wow. We finally closed this deal. I think it was Friday evening. Not evening. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and that he was still going strong, and I was worn out. That's how we. But we what an exciting time! I tell you, Gail and I couldn't be more pleased with the association. I've been knowing the commissioner a long time, but I got to know him better, and that. We're going to have a great association, and I'm just looking forward, as I said, to bring a championship team here. That's what we want, huh?
When we finished the deal, and I told him there'd be an All-Star game in 2014, he said, "Couldn't we have another one?" And I said, "We'll talk about it later." So let me introduce the person most responsible for this, Governor Jindal.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. What David's not telling you is that Tom sold him at least 5 cars as a part of this transaction as well. I have no doubt who was the best businessman in that transaction. I want to first of all start off by saying today is certainly a great day for New Orleans. It's a great day for the state of Louisiana. There were a lot of skeptics, a lot of folks who wondered whether the Hornets would come back here, would stay here after their exile post-Katrina. Today we send the message out to the entire world that the Hornets are here to stay, that New Orleans is not only an NFL city, New Orleans is an NBA city, New Orleans is a world-class city that can compete with any city, not only in America, but the entire world. And there's several people that I want to thank. I want to first of all start with Tom and Gail Benson. I consider Tom and Gail to be close personal friends for many, many years, long before I was even elected governor. I don't think I need to tell the folks here in New Orleans and Louisiana what great philanthropists, what great citizens, what great business leaders they are for our community. But I do want to tell our guests. We've got folks from all over the world watching today. Yes, Tom and Gail are known as brilliant business leaders in the banking industry, in the automobile industry, in the real estate industry, and a lot of different industries. Known as a great franchise owner thanks to their experience with the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, all of us grateful bringing us our first Super Bowl victory here to New Orleans, bringing us our next Super Bowl going to be hosted here in New Orleans. But what I want to share with you just a side that not everybody gets to see of Tom and Gail. They are truly so generous and so many times help behind the scenes so many great causes right here in New Orleans, all across the state and outside the state as well, without a lot of recognition. Whether it's the PACE program, whether it's through their church and their faith, time and time again they have stepped up to the plate. And I think that's perfectly consistent with the ethic of the New Orleans Hornets, of the NBA, getting involved in the rebuilding of New Orleans and Louisiana after those storms. I can't think of a better owner for the New Orleans Hornets. I can't think of a better, a new member of this club of NBA owners. I just want to, personally, on behalf of the entire state of Louisiana, and also personally, I want to thank Tom and Gail Benson for once more stepping up to the plate, helping their city, helping their state at a time of need, helping to make sure this team stays here and becomes yet another championship team. Let's give them another great round of applause for what they're doing. There's several other folks that worked hard to make today's announcement possible. I want to start with our commissioner. You know, I know there was a lot of pressure to move this team to another state. I know there was a lot of skepticism from folks across the country about whether it was viable to keep the Hornets here. He stepped up to the plate, did something unprecedented when he had the NBA come in and actually buy the Hornets to keep them here and to give us time to get those tickets, to get those corporate sponsors. He took a lot of criticism from a variety of folks about whether this made sense. I think today validates his confidence in us, his investment in New Orleans, in Louisiana. Again, he could have made a much easier decision. Would have been a lot simpler for him to simply sell, allow the team to be sold, and moved elsewhere. He did not have to intervene. Unprecedented, not only in the NBA, but I think in professional sports leagues. I think our commissioner deserves another round of applause for what he has done for us and for the state. I know he's been mentioned. I do want to thank Jack as well. Jack has done a phenomenal. Now, I made the mistake on the phone Thursday with the commissioner. I went on and on praising Jack, Governor Sperling, and David said, well, wait a minute now. Maybe he didn't get such a good deal after all, if you were being so nice to him. I think Jack did a great job balancing the interest of the NBA as well as of local fans. He was fair, he was a gentleman, he was transparent, he was honest throughout this process. He had multiple constituents he was answering to. It was a tough job. It took a lot longer than I'm sure he wanted. I know his wife is eager for him to get back home. He made the commitment. I saw him over the holidays. He said, Bobby, I'm not returning home until we get this done. I think he may have regretted making that commitment a couple of times during this process. But I want to say on behalf again of the people of Louisiana, we found him to be a true gentleman, a fair negotiator, and somebody who truly has ended up with a deal where everybody can walk away pleased. Let's give a great round of applause to Governor Jack Sperling. And Jack, just because it's done, this doesn't mean we don't want you to come back. We want you to see you often at the Hornets games, rooting for your team and back in New Orleans. There's several other folks, and I know I'm going to leave folks out, but I do, before I conclude, I do want to thank Doug Thornton from SMG and Ron Foreman, along with the other LSCD commissioners. Ron was the chairman, is the chairman of that group, and Hugh and certainly, and Dennis and many others. We've got our councilwoman, and I'm sure that the mayor will introduce them, but we've got a phenomenal team here. And I want to close with a couple of final observations. The reality is, a few years ago, when we started working with Tom on an agreement to keep the Saints here, to renovate the Superdome, we changed the way that the state thinks about sports. We looked at this and said, we as a state should be making capital investments in facilities like the Superdome and facilities like the New Orleans Arena so that we can have world-class facilities. And the reason Tom is such a such a great owner for the Hornets, just when you think about this, he's got experience bringing a world-class championship team to New Orleans. Secondly, he's committed to our city and our state. Third, though, and very importantly, he's got a vision for a year-round sports center right here in the heart of the city. When you think about Championship Square, you think about what this deal means in terms of events downtown. This is certainly about sports. It's also about revitalizing a very important part of downtown New Orleans. And when you think of all the investment and infrastructure that's going around here, and you top that off with the All-Star Game. We're going to have a Super Bowl. We're going to have the Final Four games here. We've had the Final Four, the men's Final Four. We're going to have the women's Final Four game here. We're going to have the All-Star game. Again, showing that these investments pay off, showing that New Orleans truly is a world-class city when it comes to hospitality and doing business. Truly, today is a great day for the city and the state. I want to thank everybody that made it happen. Especially want to congratulate the Bensons. Now, this deal runs through 2024. I have no doubt that Tom and Gail will be at the table negotiating with the state then. There'll be a different governor.
Take that right now.
I have no doubt they'll be negotiating that extension back in 2024. Congratulations to everybody that made this happen today.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Governor, thank you very much. And I'd like to also begin by thanking the Bensons. Tom and Gail have just been extraordinary, and I want to echo all of the comments that the governor has made. But both of these individuals, through very, very difficult times, have made a commitment to the people of the city and to the people of the state that I often describe in New Orleanians terms as unconditional love. Because that's what the people of America see about New Orleans and why they see so many special things happening here. So I thank you both for that. I also want to thank the commissioner in a very poignant way. You know, success has many fathers, and, you know, failure is an orphan. But as I sit back in this building and memories come flooding back, the state of Louisiana built this building with $114 million in cash, and we didn't have a team. A long, long time ago, when the people of New Orleans and the people of the state took a risk, and a lot of folks went to Madeline to get a new team here. And I can tell you, without fear of equivocation, this team would have never gotten here were it not for Commissioner Stern. I poignantly remember the meeting with all of the owners. We were in a conference room of a downtown New Orleans law firm. We had a chance to make the pitch, and the commissioner is the one that said, you know what, you can bet on the people of New Orleans. People thought we were too small. They didn't think we could make it happen, and sure enough, that's when it started. And so now through 3 owners, one of the challenges has always been, how do you make sure that you keep the Hornets here for the long term? Because this commissioner understands, and I think Gail and Mrs. Benson understand this. We're not just building a basketball franchise, we're rebuilding a great American city. And post-Katrina, I can tell you that the commissioner and Mr. Benson with the Saints and now with the Hornets understand the place that professional sports plays in the American landscape. And so, Commissioner, on behalf of the people of the city of New Orleans, I really thank you for understanding the big picture, bigger than basketball. It really is about building an American city, and thank you so much for that. The governor thanked a lot of people. Jack has been fantastic. Hugh, you know, early on, Governor, when we got together, we talked about trying to do a couple of things. One, we always told the people, if you wanted the team to stay here, you had to buy the tickets. And so we all collectively went out and helped make that happen. The sponsorships needed to be in place. The deal with the state needed to be in place. And then, of course, we had to find the owner. And as the commissioner said, we found the perfect owner. So I thank you for that. And I think we said at that time that if that happened, you will get an idea of how sports can add to the economic development of the city. And, of course, that began today with the commissioner honoring his commitment to bring us the All-Star Game in 2014. And, Commissioner, that other thing was 2018, the 300th anniversary of the city. And so with that, I just want to put an exclamation point about where we physically are for the people who are watching. We're actually right across from the Superdome, where the worst images that the people of America saw a short 6 years ago. And now, what you're witnessing in the city of New Orleans is probably one of the greatest stories of resurrection and redemption that the people of America have seen, where the people of New Orleans have picked themselves back up. Unemployment rate, Governor, thank you, is low. Our property values are high. Last night, not 6 blocks from here, we had 450,000 people that were here for the French Quarter Festival. It is the 10th major event that we've hosted in the last 120 days. We have a full city between now and next year, which will culminate with the Super Bowl, Mr. Benson, and then shortly thereafter we can have the All-Star Game. So you see a city that's back, and it's back in due in large part to the courage and the tenacity of the people in this room and to the folks that are sitting in this table. So on behalf of the people of the city of New Orleans, thank you very much. God bless you. We look forward to continue to do business with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the
And I forgot to recognize Council President Jackie Clarkson and Stacy Head. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Before
Mayor.
we get this back to the commission, I would like to ask all of you to help me with this, too. We want to change the name from Hornets to something that means New Orleans and Louisiana. You know, the Hornets don't mean anything.
He doesn't own the team yet.
He's got $25,000 on my,
No, $25 million. $25 million, don't you forget it. And if you want to get it credited to the purchase price, you better stop talking now.
I need your help, though, to get this done, okay, everybody?
Fair enough.
All right?
Fair enough. I'm going to add one more thing. When Mitch and the governor were speaking, I think that this story of rebuilding and rebirth, it will be told probably 90 times in an NBA season when the New Orleans Hornets are advertising to the world in the 217 countries and territories in 43 languages that the games will be broadcast to. So it really does have a certain symmetry to it. I don't want to pick on the NFL, but it only has 16 games. You know, so we're really we're going to be getting the story out. Go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. Now we're going to, just for the assembled media, we're going to open up to a quick Q&A, but there are 2 microphones on each side. Please wait for the microphone, and if you would state your name and affiliation, we would love to address your question. Jimmy, in the back.
David, Jimmy Smith, The Times-Picayune. Not to rain on Tom's request, but to ask about the nickname change. Are there any off-limits nicknames of current NBA teams that might have once resided here in New Orleans that would be eliminated from consideration? And question number 2, will the 2014 All-Star Game in New Orleans be your last as NBA Commissioner?
I don't propose to answer the second question. Well, it depends whether Tom pays up. No. But as to the first one, I would say it's fair to assume going in that each of the other 29 teams will maintain the ownership of their names, short of anything else. But I guess there are ways to look at that, but I'm sure there are lots of other great names.
Questions? Somebody, go ahead, Joe.
Joe Garrity, Hornets 24/7. David, you were given a lot of ridicule for your purchasing the team and owning the team. Do you feel validated, like Bobby Jindal said?
Who said yes? Okay, I'll let the mayor answer for that. I think I didn't need to be validated, honestly. I thought that it would happen, and that's why we did it. It seemed simple to me, really, given the support of the city, given the support of the state, and frankly, given the support of the business community and the fans, it all seemed relatively simple. We just had to await waking Tom up to the value that was inherent in this franchise, and when he did that, we were able to close it.
I'll just add one thing. The simple answer to that question is yes. I think the commissioner's too modest to say that. There would have been many people joyously pointing out, if this hadn't worked out, that he shouldn't have taken that risk. So the absolute answer to that question is yes. I do want to thank one other group. We've thanked a lot of people. We do need to thank the fans, and Mitch alluded to this, that we did challenge them. We did say, look, you've got to buy 10,000 tickets. Everybody said we're in, and we do. The fans deserve the credit for us being able to make this. We wouldn't be here today if the fans hadn't bought the tickets, if the corporate sponsors hadn't stepped up to the plate. It's not over. They got to continue to support the team. We wouldn't be here today without the great fans of New Orleans. They're the very first and most important group we should be thanking.
Also, I want to weigh in on that question. The answer to that is unequivocally yes. It gives a mayor a great comfort when you have a courageous commissioner that's willing to step in the gap on really difficult issues. These sports franchises are coveted pieces of equipment, and this commissioner, I want to just reiterate this to you, really understands. He has from Katrina. We've had many conversations about this, and it's worth noting, really understands the value of sport franchises, not just for themselves and for the owners, but for the nation as a whole. And this commissioner really understood the importance of this franchise to the rebuilding of a great American city and how critically important it is. So, Commissioner, again, I'm not going to let you skate by just with that. No, it's important because I'd like to send a message to other commissioners and major sports franchises as well as mayors get into this. These are really critical. He understands it. And but for the fact that he would have done that, we would have been in a lot of trouble. So, I thank you.
I need to give one more thank you, which is not done often enough. At a Board of Governors meeting in or about October of the year in which we bought this club, I said to the assembled governors, I never thought I would ever be recommending something in my life or my tenure as commissioner, but I think we should seriously consider purchasing the New Orleans Hornets. And at that meeting, the vote was 30-0. So the NBA owners understood what was at stake here, and they stepped up as a group to do what had to be done, because guess what? I exist only by virtue of their agreement, and I act only on the basis of representing them, and they understood it. I was shocked, because I was shocked that I was recommending it, and I was stunned at the support that the motion got. It didn't take very long. So that said, credit to all.
I believe to the left, Fletcher.
Fletcher Mackel, Channel 6 TV here in New Orleans. Mr. Benson, do you think, maybe this is a question for Mr. Lauscha, do you think that you could see some similar roles as far as executives with overseeing each franchise, or will you operate them independently of one another? I guess a Saints hierarchy and a Hornets hierarchy. In kind of a lighthearted question to follow up, what would your preference for a nickname be?
Well, you can be assured that we're going to operate them independently, and that the first thing we got to do is get a practice facility that's going to be what we ought to have to get this team ready to win the championship. So we are going to operate them independently. Certainly, there would be some people, Tom Benson one, that may be involved with both of them, and some other people that my right hands that work with me for many, many years, whether that's in the Saints or some other organizations that we have, that they will be involved. But this is going to be a very independent operation, because as I said before, our goal is going to be to put people in the stands and win the championship.
And as far as a nickname, do you have a preference?
I think it was going to be the Bensons, but I'm not sure I'm going to allow it.
I have a preference for a name for the team.
All right, thank you.
I didn't hear it.
Just as well.
Ed?
Ed Werder with ESPN. With all due respect, I know this is primarily an NBA event, but I'm here to ask questions about the other league in town, the one that plays 16 games, as you called it. Mr. Benson, today, a historic occasion. Sean Payton began his suspension with the Saints. The offseason program began without Drew Brees in attendance. What are your concerns about the state of the Saints amid all this?
I'm not going to allow my putative owner to answer that question. This is an NBA-related press conference. Paul Tagliabue and Roger Goodell have collectively sung the praises of Tom, and if ESPN has a problem with that, tell Mr. Skipper to call me in my office.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question. Paul? CQ behind you. Paul, if you'll take the mic and identify yourself, please.
Yeah, Paul Murphy with WWL-TV. You were asked about would the teams be operated independently, but what synergies do you see between the two teams in terms of ticket sales, sponsorships, and those types of things? What can you carry over from football that will help you in basketball, and what synergies do you plan to try to employ?
Well, you know, naturally, if you're selling Chevrolets or Mercedes, if it works in Chevrolet, you can use some of that in the Mercedes dealership. So this would be the same way. You know, we're not going to be foolish, just close our eyes because something's working very good, whether that's selling tickets or getting people. You know, our goal this past couple of years is to have a full house at every game, you know. And we doing the best job in the NFL on no-shows. We're doing the best job on no-shows. And as of this week, we have more season tickets renewal than any other club in the league. Now, think about that, you know. So we're going to use the same thing, but they got to operate separate. They're two different things, you know. I told that to the commissioner, and we are going to operate that way, and I think that's the way to do it. It's just like I said, Mercedes and Chevrolet.
I've had some conversations with myself on this subject, and the fact of the matter is, if you've got 73,000 ticket holders spilling out of the stadium, being apprised of the opportunity to participate and the team across the square, if you've got a super salesman that can sell a naming rights deal for only 16 games, imagine what he'll be able to do for 82 plus, you know. And if you have relationships with sponsors, some of whom might have made a mistake and not associated with the Hornets, or maybe even some Hornet sponsors who've made a mistake and haven't associated with the Saints. There are huge opportunities for both teams to improve their performance.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody. This time, we're going to have a short photo opportunity. There will be some one